What happens when a sports debate turns into a stadium showdown? Picture this: a WNBA game where the crowd isn't just cheering for a win. They're literally holding signs, shouting chants, and turning the arena into a battleground for a cultural war. This isn't just about basketball. It's about identity, power, and the messy intersection of sports and politics. And at the center of it all is Sophie Cunningham, a player who's become a lightning rod for controversy with her stance on transgender athletes in women's sports. Let me tell you, this situation is way more complex than most people realize. It's not just about rules or policies. It's about who gets to define the boundaries of competition, and who gets to speak for the next generation of athletes. Here's the thing: when Cunningham made her comments in that ESPN article, she wasn't just voicing an opinion. She was inserting herself into a national conversation that's been boiling for years. And now, every time she steps onto the court, she's met with boos, protests, and a wave of scrutiny that feels personal. But here's what's fascinating: she insists she's not worried. She says she's full of love and focused on inspiring kids. Yet, the reality is, her words have turned her into a symbol of a larger ideological divide. What makes this really interesting is how quickly the WNBA, a league that's often seen as progressive, has become a stage for this debate. Is it because the league's values are shifting, or because the world around it is finally catching up to the conversations happening in locker rooms and boardrooms? Let's talk about the rally outside the Target Center. Fans wearing "Trans Kids Belong" shirts, people shouting "Protect trans women." It's not just a protest. It's a statement. And it's a reminder that sports aren't neutral ground anymore. They're arenas where culture wars play out in real time. Cheryl Reeve, the Lynx coach, wore a shirt that said exactly that. Her message was clear: this isn't just about a game. It's about inclusion, about who gets to feel safe and seen. But here's the twist: Reeve and Cunningham had a conversation before the game. They didn't talk about strategies or plays. They talked about education, about finding common ground. And yet their disagreements still managed to dominate the headlines. What does that say about how we're handling these issues? Are we so polarized that even dialogue feels like a loss? Then there's Caitlin Clark, the Fever's star player. She's trying to keep the focus on basketball, saying it's up to leagues to handle the solutions. But that's easier said than done. When your team is surrounded by protests, when your teammate becomes a target for both praise and hate, how do you separate the game from the noise? It's not just about distraction, it's about loyalty. Are players expected to take sides, or are they supposed to stay silent? And if they speak up, does that make them activists or just another voice in the chaos? This whole situation raises a deeper question: where do athletes fit in the culture wars? Are they messengers, or are they just collateral damage? Cunningham's stance has turned her into a symbol, but symbols are dangerous. They simplify complex issues into slogans. What many people don't realize is that this isn't just about transgender athletes. It's about who controls the narrative. When a player speaks out, they're not just sharing an opinion. They're challenging the status quo, and that always comes with a cost. A detail I find fascinating is how quickly this debate has moved from academic circles to the front lines of sports. It's not just about policy anymore, it's about power, and who gets to define the rules of the game. If you take a step back and think about it, this isn't just a sports story. It's a reflection of a society grappling with identity, inclusion, and the limits of tolerance. And as long as athletes are at the center of these debates, they'll keep being forced to choose sides. But here's the thing: maybe that's not the point. Maybe the real issue isn't what Cunningham said or didn't say. It's that the conversation is happening at all. Because if sports can't be a place where people disagree without turning into a riot, then what can? This isn't just about basketball. It's about the future of how we fight for our values, and whether we can do it without tearing each other apart.